Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap-up for Friday, April 5th, 2013. I just have three stories today, but they're three big ones. Three stories I want to concentrate on. Number one, North Korea. Number two, the Middle East. That's Syria and Iran. And number three, the ongoing banking crisis that is not over yet, that you need to know about. Let's start with North Korea. North Korea has been saber-rattling in recent weeks and days. They've said things like that we're at war. They said things like we want to nuke Japan and the United States and our bases and the mainland of the United States. And they said that the ceasefire between the North and South Korea is over and that they're in a state of war. They've said all kinds of incendiary things, and the U.S. is taking this serious. You don't dispatch B-2 stealth bombers to fly training missions if you don't think there's a serious threat. These are bombers that are capable of carrying nuclear weapons. That's what they're for. They're to carry cruise missiles, nuclear-armed cruise missiles. And they're flying them over the Korean peninsula in South Korea. Also, we have rallied lots of assets to the area. We have naval assets off the South Korean coast. We've put up missile defense systems. We are sending aircraft, fighters and A-10 Warthogs. We have 37,000 troops on the border. We've been telling them that, hey, listen, we're ready to respond. This is the fifth largest military in the world. That's North Korea. Now, there's a lot of people that don't take this serious, that Kim Jong-un is the new, the young president. He doesn't know what he's doing, and, they don't have much of an army. Stop. Hold on a minute. That underestimates the seriousness and the direness of this situation and how this situation could turn into a nuclear war. The fifth largest army in the world concentrated on the North Korean side of the Korean peninsula, and it faces the sixth largest army in the world. North Korea has more than a million man standing army, which is within 60 miles of the border. They have more than 6,000 armored vehicles and tanks. They have 120,000 special forces. They have a significant Air Force assets. They have 30 or 40 ships. I'm not saying that North Korea can overtake the South and defeat America, but they can cause serious damage. They have anywhere between 10,000 and 20,000 artillery pieces. What happens if they just start a barrage, firing it into South Korea? And let's say maybe they decide to really take some crazy Kool-Aid and start firing chemical weapons in South Korea. Could this turn into a full-blown war in a hurry? And what happens if North Korea starts losing? Or they think that the United States is going to strike their nuclear assets. Well, maybe they might just use those nuclear missiles. Yes, I know they've had some failed missile tests, but they've had some successful missile tests, and they've certainly successfully detonated nuclear weapons. That's why they're upset. The West is, in the United States, is putting severe sanctions on North Korea. They're upset about it. They're mad about it. I don't care how antiquated or how crazy North Korea is, they could do serious damage. And then what about China? North Korea exists because of China. That's their buffer between South Korea and the United States and our interests. Do you think if they see North Korea losing, do you think they're not going to jump in and help them? If North Korea is nuked by the United States, how do you think China will respond to that? This is an ugly mess. What are the reasons why North Korea is doing this? Well, they're upset about the sanctions. There's no question about that. There also could be, some ulterior motives, and they're being put up to this by China. And China may be saying, hey, listen, let's create enough of a distraction and enough of a threat here in the North Korean peninsula that maybe the United States won't attack Iran. And let's just take it on over to Iran. There's been more rhetoric
from the United States about Iran's nuclear program, how it could be close to coming up with a nuclear weapon. Iran was over in President Obama was over in Israel and said all options are on the table, and that he was also quoted as saying that they could have enough nuclear material for a bomb within a year, and we don't want to cut it too close. And what about the Israelis? They've been threatening. They've been saying they have the right to defend themselves. What happens if Iran thinks Israel is going to attack and they attack first? What happens if Israel attacks Iran? This is going to be another unqualified disaster. Oil prices will shoot up. The Strait of Hormuz will be shut down. U.S. military assets will be attacked. The U.S. will be attacking Iran. It's going to be a free-for-all. It's going to be a mess. I don't care whose side you're on. I'm just telling you that the signs right now in those two places are terrible, and they point towards war. And let's just move over to Syria. There have been reports of that spreading consistently beyond its borders. There have been Syrian military has been firing into Turkey, and Turkey's been firing back. And then there's reports of Syria and Israel trading shots with each other near the Golan Heights region. And then just this last week, Syrian jets bombed targets in Lebanon. There's no peace talks. There's no road to peace. There's no truce. Just continued fighting, and it's spilling out over in the borders. I don't see any scenario where anytime soon anything is going to be peacefully settled on the Korean Peninsula or in the Middle East, Iran, Syria, any of that. That's just something to look out for. If there's war in any of those places, and it could be all that at one time. Who knows how bad this could get out of control and how fast it could get out of control. There is no way that war on this scale in any of those regions or all those regions doesn't implode the financial system, and that's my next subject. A lot of people are kind of done with the whole Cyprus thing and how that, that's just a, small country. It's only 0.2% of, GDP, of the Eurozone GDP. And listen, this is far from over. The banking system in the Western world, at any rate, is sick. Otherwise, this would have been over. This would have been over with QE1 or QE2 or all the dollar swaps between the Fed and the European Union, the ECB. It's not fixed. Not fixed. How many times have you heard it's been fixed and it's not fixed? Because it's not fixed. And this, now they have laid out, they've used, a lot of people have said they've used Cyprus as a test case. That's why they picked a small country, and they've, that any uninsured depositors would be basically wiped out, 60 or 80% of their capital gone. And anybody who wanted to take the rest of their uninsured deposits, their insured deposits back out of the bank, no, you can't do that. And look at the Cyprian, depositors who their accounts were protected. They had 100,000 euro insurance protection. Can they go there and take their money out? No. Well, 300 euros a day, as it stands right now. So let's fast forward this to some of the other countries in Europe, Spain and Italy and, Ireland and the bank runs that have been already quietly going on there with the rich over in Europe, electronically. And say they protect depositors there. And then you like to take your 10 or 15 or 20,000 euros. No, 300 euros a day. And let's come on over, fast forward over here to the United States. $10.8 trillion in deposits, $33 billion in insurance. There's a lot of money, I would say trillions, that are uninsured. What happens if they have another collapse? There's documents floating around out there that says, we're going to hit up bond holders and shareholders and also uninsured deposits. We're going to use that to recapitalize the bank. That's what the documents that have been floating around on the web that appear to be authentic. And listen, a lot of people say this is the plan, that your bank deposits are not safe. I mean, people like Jim Rogers, famed investor Jim Rogers. I had Peter Schiff on saying the same thing. He handles $3 billion in assets with his company. Egon von Gryer says they're going to take assets to keep this thing going. People like James Turk, I had him on recently, and he says, hey, you know, maybe the next trigger point isn't going to be in Europe or the U.S. or anything to do with Cyprus. It could be a big bond default by a South American country like Argentina. And it won't be like Argentina in the years past, where it's fairly insulated from the rest of the financial system. It's all interconnected all over. I mean, they were talking about Cyprus, taking down the entire eurozone, and that's just 0.2% of the European Union GDP. If you take a look, I had somebody at a restaurant say, hey, what should people do? And I said, you know what, look at Cyprus as your crystal ball. Now look into the future. And if you could look into the future, and you were a Cypriot, you could see what's going on now. You could look into the future. You could go back and say, what do I need to do to protect myself? How do you think the people that are doing, who have physical gold and silver in coin form outside of the banking system, how do you think the people are doing that stocked up on supplies, food, fuel? How do you think those people are doing in Cyprus? And how do you think those people are doing, who took, if they had 20,000 euros and they took 18,000 euros out of their bank? That's what Peter Schiff says. Don't leave any extra money in the bank that you have to. Why? They're not paying you any interest. This is what Peter Schiff said on my site recently. And, I find it hard to argue with that logic, because the people who had gold and silver and supplies and food and gasoline, cars filled up, and they had cash, they did pretty good in Cyprus. Cyprus, that kind of event is coming here. And you think, well, I have $250,000 insurance. Oh, you do? Okay. Well, what happens to the people who are beyond the limit and they have their money taken to recapitalize the bank? Because, your money's not there. It's a fractional reserve system. And there's only a fraction of, they take your money and then they loan it out. And so your money's really not there. And what happens if everybody tries to go to the bank who had half their money taken from them? Well, capital controls. Remember Cyprus? We have your money safe, but you can't have it. You can't have it. So let's say you have 10 or 15 or 20 or $30,000 in a bank account, and you say, well, I'd like to have, most of my money right here in my, what? I can't have it. Well, you said you protected my money. It's FDIC insured. Yeah, and then you're going to learn a new word, capital controls. Yeah, you can't have it. You can have $300 today, $300 tomorrow, but you can't have your money. And what happens if they do something like they did, in other countries, where they said, hey, we're going to take your deposits and we have it safe for you, but we're going to put it into treasury bills. And 2, 3, 5 years, 10 years, you could have it in 2 or 3 or 5 years. But because we can't have the banking system implode. We can't give you your money. We have it safe, but you can't have it. And I ask you, is it really your money? I don't look, and I tell people to buy gold and silver as a form of insurance. I don't sell it on this site. It's a form of insurance, and I ask people, how much insurance do you need? Only you can decide that. But take a look at the people who had their insurance policies, their cash, their gold, their silver, their food, some supplies, stocked up on medicine, and they had that outside the system. Those people did pretty well. And I say, maybe you should look at Cyprus as your crystal ball. I want to thank everybody who comments on this site. I think we have some of the smartest people. I've said this before. I think we have some of the smartest people on the internet commenting on this site and commenting on the YouTube channel. I also want to thank people for using the donations button. Thank you very much. That money goes directly to the bottom line and helps support and offset the costs of this site. That's the way I see it. I'm Greg Hunter. Thank you for supporting USAWatchdog.com.